What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into a little coffee with Broads / sports talk with Broads. I got my third cup of Joe sitting right in front of my face. I got Jack Harlow stuck in my head. I just had to buy another pair of Airpods because I lost my pair that I had prior. It was about a 3-year run, to be fair, though. So that's a nice run with the first generation of Airpods there. But here we go. Had to purchase another one. A lot of running around. And same with Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman's been running around trying to make some trades. He landed one, moved back, not surprised. I love it. Picked up the phone, said, "Yo, Loomis, what's going on down there in New Orleans?" And bang, I think it's hilarious that prior to this offseason, you would ask a million Eagles fans how they felt about Howie Roseman. And you would get majority of the people saying he sucks, he's stupid, and he has no idea what he's doing. And then I would ask, who's better? And the reaction would be Chris Ballard. The reaction would be Loomis, Mickey Loomis in New Orleans. And I'm not telling you that they are bad general managers. I'm telling you that Howie Roseman is in the mix with all the other ones that you are going to mention. He fleeced Chris Ballard and literally pantsed him in front of the whole entire NFL world with that Carson Wentz trade. And here we have great value by moving some picks back. And basically, the Saints get the 16th and the 19th overall pick and a 6th rounder, while the Eagles get the 18th, which is one in front of the Saints' 19th. That's how numbers work. They get a 2023 first, a 2024 second, and a 2022 third and 7th. You can look at it this way. They traded the 16th overall pick for a first, second, and a third. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is fantastic value. And I get it. Now you have to apply what you do to the draft. And you actually have to pick the right players. And you actually have to accomplish your goal by landing unbelievable talent that can help out your franchise. They have made mistakes in the past for sure. But I'm just telling you that Howie Roseman still is good at his job and still knows how to operate and do things at a high level. A couple of the GMs that are viewed very highly in this league, it seems, at least in this department, prior to we see the outcome, everyone loves what Howie Roseman got in return. And we know the Eagles won the Chris Ballard and the Colts trade. So just to put it in perspective, all of these other GMs, because they are damn good GMs, they sometimes have some uncomfortable moments, and they sometimes have some disappointing moments as well. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But I love it, and you look at Howie Roseman and what he did last year at the draft. You're at 6, you move back to 12, you still apply some great players to your roster in that draft. You get your Landon Dickerson, you get your Devontae Smith. Well, can you back that up with another offseason of some really good players? You got your Dallas Goedert. You got your Miles Sanders. Can we find ways to improve the roster with those type of players? And realistically, the question that's asked now is, what does this mean for Jalen Hurts? And I think once they didn't land Russell Wilson, once they didn't land a quarterback that could change their franchise, they realized we're going to run it back with Jalen. There's no QBs in this draft that we're absolutely obsessed with, and it seems to be somewhat of the common theme around the NFL world. We'll push back into next year, give Jalen Hurts another chance to improve and see if he does add to his repertoire and see what him and Nick Sirianni can dial up. And I know the narrative around last year was they couldn't beat any good teams. All they did was beat the poor teams with bad quarterback play. Sure, there were some Mike Glennons in there, Daniel Jones. They played Trevor Siemian when they played the Saints. It's not as if they wowed you to death with fantastic victories against teams that were extremely talented at the quarterback position, where there was fear in Jonathan Gannon's eyes because he obviously runs a different defense when he is afraid to get beat over the top compared to where he thinks he gets an advantage off because the quarterback stinks. So it gives him an opportunity to apply different looks, and he's not worried about getting beat over the top. That changes everything with the defensive identity of Gannon, and we saw that last season. But I also feel that with the new head coach last year, with an entirely young coaching staff as well, not knowing much about Jalen Hurts once he got thrown in there for the first starting weeks of the season, they just went in with a game plan that didn't suit the team best. Now, they scrapped it, and they went in a new direction once they realized that let's utilize his playmaking ability with his legs more, and let's see see what we can do and target a different style of offense. And then they started to play a better brand, which maybe they could have won some of those games earlier on if they knew what was best with their team, and they didn't at that point. And that's why teams that play hot football at the end of the year, it doesn't always relate to how they started. I am not telling you, let's be clear, I am not telling you that the Philadelphia Eagles by any means are the New England Patriots, but it happened all the time. Oh, they're 1-3 in their first month. What happens when it's cold and it's November and it's December and it's January and it's February? They flip the switch and they figure it out, and bang, there they go. It's not crazy, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, they sucked all year. They're not the same team. Well, look where they ended up going to. They make a deep run. They turn around. They figure it out. What happens in September, what happens in October isn't necessarily going to tell you and define who you are by the end of the year. The UNC Tar Heels. Think about the UNC Tar Heels that just lost in the national championship game last night to Kansas. What a wild ride emotionally. I had Kansas on the money line parlayed with a little Boston Bruins who won in overtime. So that was a nice cash out for the kid. But ultimately, it's progress made. Now that you have an identity and substance on Jalen Hurts, you apply that knowledge to the team. Now you can start off differently. Instead of having the awful start and putting yourself in such a big hole, maybe you're just around average in the beginning of the season, and then that changes the trajectory as you grow as a unit. Just throwing it out there. Look, in terms of what their ceiling could be with their limited moves so far, and I'm not going to downplay a Hassan Reddick, okay, because that's a big move. And I like grabbing White from the Chargers with the linebacker. Now there's someone who can actually do some damage in that department. No more Nate Gary, no more Alex Singleton, no more of those style of players. You got someone that you can rely on legitimately in that position. I still feel we're in that same type of category. Look, last year I saw them as a 6-win team before the season began. They won 9 football games, and they made the playoffs, which was awesome. I feel, though, with Jalen Hurts, while I'm anticipating him to grow and get better and be better going to the left, and Todd Bowles dared him. We saw that. In the playoff game, they said, Jalen Hurts, what can you do if I give you this to work with? And he fell flat on his face. I feel he will learn from that. He's a competitor. He's got that nature in him, which he's going to take strides to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And who knows, maybe he doesn't have the skill level at the end of the day to get it done. But you know he's going to give you everything he can. And if he falls on his face, it's not for a lack of effort and lack for a trying. We'll find out. But even with my feelings that he will be better than last year, even though it won't be enough, I'm heading into the season almost thinking they're going to be in that same tier-ish. Now, this is why I think it can be more acceptable than a different circumstance. And what I mean by that is, actually, before we get to that point, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any event, Sixers are getting ready to start their playoffs. You got the Philadelphia Phillies getting ready to roll into action on Friday, opening day. Gonna be awesome. You can utilize the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your purchase. There's so many great prices going on right now at SeatGeek. It's a no-brainer to get yourself in SeatGeek and get yourself some tickets. And then we're also giving away Phillies opening day tickets on my Twitter page at Broads Media, pinned to the top of the profile. All you have to do is follow the account and retweet the account. And on Wednesday, I will be selecting the winner. And TikTok too, Broads Media. Definitely check it out over there. All right, I need a sip of this coffee because I need more rolling through my veins. Fantastic. All right, so what I wanted to bring up is, all right, there's a fear that Howie Roseman, and this cracks me up, but there's a fear that Howie Roseman is brainwashing Jeffrey Lurie, kicking the can down the road every single time he gets a chance with some draft picks, just so he can keep a job. And he's lying to Jeffrey Lurie so he doesn't get fired, and there's this whole methodical plan involved. I don't think that's the case. Okay, look, we knew they had to retool and regroup after winning the Super Bowl. Would we have liked the Super Bowl run to go more than 1 year? Did we think we had a dynasty in the making? Absolutely. Now, to be fair, how many of those actually go down? I think we might be a little brainwashed knowing that the New England Patriots did it for one of the longest runs ever in the history of sports and think that that's real. Now, the Saints are into this mode right now, which is just bonkers, and who the hell knows how they're doing it, but it seems like they just pick up everyone and their mother, pay them some cash, and now here they are ready to rock. So maybe the Rams end up doing it. Who knows? And look, there are legitimate, like we saw the Eagles. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but every year, Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid, NFC Championship games, there's something to that. The Kansas City Chiefs, what they're doing now, even though losing Tyreek Hill is going to be massive for what they want to operate offensively. And maybe that is the start of the, I'm not going to say fall down, because when you have Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, you're always in the conversation. But maybe they drop a bit of a fear level. Maybe they drop a little bit of a, when you see them, do you have that same fear if Tyreek Hill is not out there running and exploding and they replace some guys and now Juju Smith-Schuster is a weapon for them? Like that's a big difference and a big loss overall. Should it have been more and longer? Absolutely. I'm not downplaying that. But I'm also not acting as if it's normal to just have an insane amount of runs to a Super Bowl championship every single year. Like, that seems to be more of an outlier than it is a norm, because it's that difficult. And, 1-2 years of a player in the NFL can make the difference. Fletcher Cox at 28, Fletcher Cox at 31. That's a big difference in terms of what you get maximize-wise out of these players. But anyway, I digress. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, they have a plan. Howie Roseman's not just pushing this back to say, I just don't want to get fired. The guy wants to win. Realistically, the guy wants to say, fuck you to all the people that rip him apart every single day. I know he listens. I know he hears things. And there is a part of the Eagles that release information to try and make the noise a little bit lower or softer when there is a lot of pitchforks and stakes being screamed towards Howie Roseman's direction. He hears it. And there's nothing more he wants to do than shove it right up to everyone who despises him and says that he can't do it, even though he already won a Super Bowl and he already has the Super Bowl championship ring and he already has the hardware to go with it. He still hears it and he knows, and he has the plan to put this all together. It just unfortunately doesn't happen overnight. There is a blueprint that they have. It comes down to executing the blueprint properly, but it's not just out of control. Let's just keep pushing picks back. Let's not study what they're like. Let's not study the quarterbacks. Let's not look at next year's draft. Let's not do this. Let's not do that. No, they're doing everything. They're doing their research. They're doing their homework. There's a reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are in the same level of Steelers, Ravens, Packers. You look at all the numbers. You look at their playoff appearances, this and that. They're in that range. They're looked at as a good organization. Cracks me up. How come nobody ever wants to come to the Eagles except for if they live there and their hometown was the Eagles? That's why people want to come back. That's the only reason, because they hate Howie. Oh, my God. Come on. That's so lazy. That's such a lazy narrative. As if there's not 30-plus other teams out there that he can go to. Money talks, and if it fits within your system, fine. And there's other situations, like if the Eagles offer you and the Ravens offer you right now. Yes, there's other teams that are a little bit higher and maybe a little bit higher on the list at the moment than the Eagles. There's a lot of worse ones, too. A ton of worse ones, too. Howie works in weird, mysterious ways. Outside of the draft, those mysterious ways, though, seem to pan out and be okay. Joe chimes in the chat and says, I think Howie just doesn't like the draft class. For the quarterback, yeah, I feel that you are correct. Look, if they stayed and they didn't make any pushback, didn't make any trades back with the New Orleans Saints, I would be all right with that. If you said Howie Roseman this year analyzed his board, looked at his draft picks, and thought, we need 3 players that can help out this team. We'll go grab some defensive playmakers. We'll add that to White and Hassan, which we added to our roster in the offseason. We still need some help in other areas. We could look at the offensive side of the ball as well, because we know that they like that offensive mindset. There's a lot of different angles you could go. Draft 3 young players in the first round, and let's just add that to this young core. No doubt about it. Now, there's financial things that happen too. Now that you have 2 in this first round, 2 in the next first round, when you think about when it's time to pay these young cats, it's a little bit more dispersed instead of all at the same time, which matters as well, even though I would have faith and trust in Howie Roseman to make that happen anyway. And I also find this hilarious. I'll never forget it. I will never forget the moment. I was listening up to some New York sports radio at the time, the Michael Kay Show. I was driving, I was at a market, we were flipping on the radio, whatever. It ended up coming on. And they were talking about Gettleman at the time. And they referenced, how come they can't run the ship like Howie Roseman does down in Philadelphia, where he's pushing money back, he's finding salary cap loopholes, they're signing players all the time. It seems like they don't have cap space, but then they do. They know how to do it. And it's so funny when you listen to other people speak about the Eagles, it's an insanely different tone on how things are ran. Now, with the Eagles right now, you can definitely make the argument that they are struggling in the drafting department. And that's going to be a big part of this, right? If they come flat on their face afterwards and they pick Jay Joel and Jalen Reagor and some crap and some slop, I'll be sitting right here and ripping them apart because that needs to change. You would have to change things. Look, I think that you would have an awesome person in charge that can make trades like they did yesterday with the Saints, that can make trades like they did with the Miami Dolphins to move back from 6 to 12 and grab a first, to sign a Jay Ajayi, to sign a Hassan Reddick, to sign some of these players, to work with the cap nonstop. But if it's another disaster and another putrid effort in the draft, I think they have to reassess. That doesn't mean fire Howie, because he does, I'd say, 80, 75%, 80% of the job extremely well. It's how can we find a way to get that 20% rolling too? Because if you just have someone who's good at the draft, but you don't have someone who can manipulate things and get things like this, like you're not maximizing what you have in that front office. And also, do you realize, and I understand it's not the sexiest thing in the world, go look at where these other organizations are plucking from. Look how many front office members were lost in the Eagles organization this year. You got teams all around with their sticky fingers picking from the Howie Roseman Eagles front office. I'm not telling you that he's just the greatest and he's never going to be beat and there's no one ever better in the history of the world. I'm just trying to explain to you why I feel the way that I do about the Eagles, and I have more trust than others because they might be in a rut lately. And to be honest with you, I see it trending in the right direction. You just have to be patient with it. Unfortunately, it can happen quicker than you think, but at the same time, there's a reasonable level of time that it takes for this to all pan out at the same time. It's not going to be like a 7-year thing, 5-year thing. You're not going into tank mode to do it, but you got to accumulate some picks. It's got to be the right time. Timing's key too, right? If Ben Simmons wanted to go and James Harden wanted to stay with the Brooklyn Nets, you don't make that trade. You might be still stuck with Ben Simmons right now and $30 million just picking his damn nose on the side of the bench, and he's not even a part of a trade or anything like that. Timing matters. Sometimes timing's there for you. Sometimes timing's not there for you. That's all part of it too with landing a certain player. Is Russell Wilson available? Is he not available? Is Deshaun Watson available? Is he not available? Is Aaron Rodgers available? Is he not available? These type of decisions in an offseason for a particular franchise could change what the Eagles can or cannot do. So that factors into the equation as well. Chuck in the chat says, knowing Howie and knowing he values the D-line, he'll most likely take defensive line, edge, tackle. No doubt. If you go in that direction, sign me up. You win in the trenches. So if that's their bread and butter, I've seen this team generate a ton of success with that philosophy, with that mindset. Let's go. Let's get youth. Let's get speed. Let's get guys who can attack downhill, get to the quarterback, make them uncomfortable. I love BG. I don't know how much time BG has left in the tank. If you could find a young one that can maybe start becoming what Fletch was, what BG was, and you're now incorporating that new lifestyle of Eagles football, similar mentality, similar approach. You're just refreshing that spot in your D-line rotation. Well, then, yeah, I mean, I've already seen them win games and win playoff games and get into the mix based off of that thought right there. So if you could sign me up any day of the week for it, I'm right there with you. The random hobo, hello, the random hobo. He wants to speak about the wide receiver help. He believes we need more help at wide receiver if we want Hurts to work. That's fair to say that maybe there's not the most explosive amount of weapons right now next to Jalen Hurts. You have Devontae Smith. We know he's a dog. Dallas Goedert, I love him to death. There's an issue, though, with dropping passes, right? That's fair to say that he's constantly dropping passes, and that's problematic. And is it a lack of focus? Is it taking his eye off the ball to try and go up or downfield a little bit more? So he takes his eye off the ball. He starts turning his head left to try and cut up field maybe by the sideline, and then he drops it. Maybe he senses a hit's coming, but that needs to change. He needs to be more focused in that area because he's already talented. He's already good. Imagine what could happen if he just slices that in half, right? Like, jobs happen. You don't catch every pass ever. But if he cleans that up and slashes it in half, well, just think about how much more damage he could do. So you have Smith, you have Goddard. I'm not the biggest Pascal guy in the world. I think what he does is he just gives you a guy. And I know PFF rated him in the Jalen Reagor area. I don't like PFF, to be fair. But at the same time, you know, I look at Pascal and I just think he's a guy to throw in there to eat some reps. I really do. I know Nick Sirianni loved him and raves about what he was doing in Indianapolis and all that. I think he's just a guy to eat up some minutes more than anything else. So I'm not putting my full effort and emotions towards what he's going to be able to do. So with that, you know, you still have some issues. I like Quez Watkins a lot, and I feel with a different quarterback, maybe Quez Watkins has numbers that pop off the stat sheet a little bit more than it does because maybe he wasn't hit, he was missed. Now, he's not polished, okay? There's so many different areas for Quez Watkins to still improve with his route running and just adding more into his repertoire. But there were times where there was meat left on the bones because the quarterback just didn't get him the football. And, you know, I'm just saying, like, Quez Watkins still has another jump in his step just based off of being seen. And then there's another step left in the tank for him just improving as a player at the same time. Is that enough for Jalen Hurts to have success? To have some sort of success, yes. It's not like you have J-Jaw and Jalen Reagor with Travis Fulgham lined up. There's still enough in there. It's not the sexiest, though. And I don't know if they're done. I thought maybe Devontae Parker would be the option. I thought that would have been a good gamble, a good chance. What stings is this. When you sign Hassan Reddick, and you know that you would have had the Calvin Ridley move happen. If Calvin Ridley didn't bet on games like a dope and use his own phone, and like, what are you doing? You got to be smarter than that. Oh, I didn't know. You didn't know? How does everyone in the world know that they can't be betting on their own sport? And you just didn't know? And then you get it? I'm sure guys do this. Yo, James, I'm just picking a random name. Yo, James, throw 1,000 on the under for me in the Colts game. Right? I'm sure that happens. You did it on your own phone, but that could have been an addition. And I'm not going to tell you Calvin Ridley's perfect. I'd take Calvin Ridley in a heartbeat, though. And slot him with Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins and Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders. Would have been a big improvement and a big help for the young quarterback just to see what he can do because he can help out big time. So it would have been so much. I would have felt so much better about the moves that they made if they landed a Calvin Ridley. You give me White, you give me Reddick, and you give me Calvin Ridley. That's a good start. And then you make this type of move, I would just be like, damn, that's sensational. That really is. That's a very solid approach for the start of your offseason before you even get to the draft. And the draft is sneaking up on us big time. It's April 5th right now. It's 11:40 as we're recording this. There's about 20 minutes until some Philly spring training baseball. And you're damn right I can't wait for every single pitch of that to see Castellanos and Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber in the lineup. Friday, I'm going to lose my damn mind. Saturday, I'm going to lose my damn mind. And then for 160 games after those two games, I'm going to lose my damn mind. See, I'm already anticipating the situation where we're talking October baseball and we're going to have a dilemma. We got Eagles football. We got Phillies baseball. Let's go. We got the double dip. We haven't had the double dip in quite some time. Speaking of double dip, dipping, why don't you check out WinView? WinView is the nation's leading sports predictor, allowing you to compete in pregame or live contest against other people, not the house. The way this works, it's so great. The link is down below in the description, by the way. WinView.tv/Broads. It's you versus one other person. So you're not betting against the house. You're not betting against Vegas. You're betting against someone else. There's 8 questions. If you answer more questions correctly, you win the pot. There's also free ways to play as well if you just want to get your feet wet. Let's use the Sixers for the example as they take on the Pacers tonight. Let's say, here's question 1. Will the Sixers win the game? Yes or no? Will Joel Embiid score over 30 points? Yes or no? Will James Harden record a triple-double? Yes or no? Or maybe I should say double-double. I could say triple-double, too, though we did just do that. Who will have more assists as a team, the Pacers or the Sixers? Those are the type of questions. Some days, maybe 5 correct answers get it done. Maybe another day, 3 does. Maybe you need 9 if your opponent is on a tear. So just something to do while you're watching the games. It's a unique way to play. It's a unique, different style of sports betting. WinView.tv/Broads. Check it out down below. Sign up in the description. It will be a no-brainer. Okay, so I think this lines up perfectly, by the way, with that Howie Roseman contract as well. You know, would Howie Roseman make these same style of moves if you didn't have him sign that deal? You can get out of the deal if you don't want Howie Roseman here anymore. I have no issues with Jeffrey Lurie making the decision to extend Howie Roseman, and here's why. He wasn't going anywhere. Did anyone really think Howie Roseman was just going to get canned? Did anyone think he was going to get fired? No, not at all. You know, it's kind of funny, though, because I'm thinking right now about Nick Sirianni. I'm thinking about their approach over the last couple of years with some of their head coaching picks. And by the way, I'll open up the phone lines if you would like to climb in. 856-442-9805. 856-442-9805. That's the phone number if you want to chime in. I would love to hear your reaction to what's going down with the Eagles right now. But the reason I bring up the head coaching hires and all, I was working with Anita Marks. She does some New York sports radio. She joined me on The Fanatic about one Sunday ago. So not this latest Sunday, but the Sunday before. And we were talking about Gettleman. We were talking about Joe Judge. And then we talked about their hires this year and what the Giants did. And I like the hires. I mean, outside of being an Eagles fan, and if I'm just looking at it from a football standpoint, if I was a Giants fan, I would like what they did and the new regime that they have, the new life. It makes sense. If it flops, it flops. But it's not for a lack of logic entering in. You get Dable from Buffalo who's having all this generated success. The guy just seems to be a great candidate right now. Sometimes it's a great candidate and it ends up not working out. I will never fault an organization for going with someone that had a lot of splash, a lot of noise, and reasonably so. Sometimes they do, and you wonder, well, why? Why is that guy getting the hype that they're getting? That wasn't the case with Dable, so I understand why the Giants went down that path. But the point that was brought up was, Anita brought up the fact that, well, the Giants hired Joe Judge. Why would they hire Joe Judge, a special teams coach, but was he really, with everything going down in New England the way that it does? And Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And, you know, my one example was John Harbaugh down in Baltimore's doing a fine job if you want to bring up special teams. But I got it. You want to get to one with more of a resume. But then I brought up that, you know, it's so crazy. The Eagles. No one knew Andy Reid before Andy Reid. Now the name's splashy and sexy as hell. Now the man's in Hawaiian shirts and eats cheeseburgers and talks about cheesesteaks and everybody loves him. It wasn't always that way. Doug Peterson. No, I think he lucked himself into a Super Bowl because I don't think he's the greatest damn coach in the world. I think he's kind of a doofus. I put him in the Three Stooges category. But my guy wins a Super Bowl, and now it's like, hey, Jacksonville, let's go. Jacksonville fans are excited about him. And when Urban Meyer is the alternative, and he just went through the disaster where your guy's grinding on women on road trips and whatnot, I mean, it's a mess. So you get a Doug Peterson, he's a guy that everyone loves to be around. Like, the guys love him. The guys want to play for him. That's fine. You go to Jacksonville, you could have that sort of success there and run with it. I thought the time for Doug Peterson ran its course. And now you get Nick Sirianni. My point is, it's crazy how the big, splashy, sexy name of Chip Kelly was the one that became a disaster. And it did because of, look, your offense is on the field for 5 seconds. They go 3 and out. Your defense is playing 99% of the games, which tires it out. It wasn't like his football decisions were the smartest in the world strategically, X and O wise. And once he came into the league, it seemed like there were some adjustments. He did win 10 games, though. It's not as if he didn't do anything strong. He did find his way winning double-digit games, just not making the playoffs after winning that many games. You know what I mean? Like, it's disappointing from that angle. But the problem with him was more of the just how to handle people. How to handle people and how to run the organization from a GM standpoint. They gave him too much too quickly, and it blew up in their faces. But how the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, these two specifically, they go out of their way to just go get guys that they believe in regardless of the status, and it seems to pan out more times than not compared to the sexy name. So I just brought that up in the conversation because it's funny when you're the Giants, like, go get someone who makes sense. It's sort of like, I guess, to the Eagles' point in drafting, it's don't draft from Louisiana State, don't draft from Washington, go to Alabama and find your guy. So other organizations utilize that method for their head coach. That's the fans, that is. The fans screaming because they're unhappy. They use that method for the head coach and the hires. We use it for the draft picks. Although Jalen Hurts, that was a big-time program-style quarterback. That was your Oklahoma and your Alabama, and that didn't necessarily pan out. It's crazy when it comes to that as a whole. It's crazy because, like, you look at these big major conferences and these big major teams in college. Look at Josh Allen when Carson Wentz was on that MVP run. Tom Brady's such an outlier. It's not to say that you can't find great quarterbacks, but like Jake Fromm, he's always the example. And I think about it because of last year, the Giants actually had to watch him take snaps under center in the NFL. But the dude was a legend in Georgia. Like, the guy's there. It's like, this is Jake Fromm. He's the number one quarterback on a team that's in the top tier in the country, SEC football, college football, playoffs, this and that. Now, their defenses are fantastic. There's no denying it. But how do you play quarterback at that level of college football and you can't sniff the NFL? It's pretty crazy. Now, we continue to go to the chat talking about the Honey Badger. In terms of the Honey Badger, yes, the Eagles are linked to the Honey Badger. I saw all sorts of reports. I would not be upset if they were to go down that path. I was speaking to someone who's close to the team and covers their decision-making. And what I got last night, I checked in on some things after the trade happened. And let's see here, just to lay it out for you properly, even though I always paraphrase, I think I can get to it. Let's see. It is a good trade. Howie has a plan. Question is, will the plan work? It's a good question. Let's see here. We talked about Sauce a little bit, knowing he's the big deal. I forget what I'm even looking for. What am I looking for? What did I say we were talking about? My dog started barking upstairs and I got distracted. We were talking about the team. The Honey Badger. Honey Badger. Here you go. I asked, do you think they land Honey Badger for safety? Doubt it is the response I got. Doubt it. And I said, what about bringing back Steven Nelson? LOL. Curious what they're thinking about with the secondary. And then this individual made a joke about moving 15 and 18 to go get Sauce. I said, stop it. You don't mean that. Probably not, but Sauce is the real deal. Sauce is legit, but there's no way in hell that you're going to see Howie Roseman move 2 picks to go land a cornerback in the draft. To be fair, that was just more of a joke. That's not real. That was more of just a joke when I mentioned the safety position. But I mentioned the Honey Badger, and the response basically was, I doubt it. What's up, Addison? How are you, man? Addison says, what's up, bros? The Eagles have a great setup to build a long-lasting playoff team. I hope he drafts the right guys. Well, drafting the right guys is the biggest concern, and it has been the biggest concern. There's been fantastic picks, but there's been too many misses. All teams miss. Misses are inevitable, and misses will happen, but the hit rate has to be a higher percentage than it has been as of late. In terms of they have a great setup to build a long-lasting playoff team, like every year, for the most part, I know last year was an outlier, but every year as Eagles fans, and you could say, well, the division stinks, and nobody trusts in Dak Prescott, and nobody believes in the division, and the Washington football team or the Commanders, they're bad. The New York Giants are bad. I understand all of the context surrounding this, but that's not always the case. I'm laying this out there that every year we go into a season, for the most part, and say the Eagles have a chance to win the division. The Eagles have a chance to compete with the Dallas Cowboys to win the division. How many times can an organization say that year after year after year after year? Now, you can look at something like the AFC right now and look at Denver and look at Vegas and look at LA and look at the Chargers. You can look at some of these divisions and go, whoa, bloodbath. We did that the other year with the Seahawks and the Rams and the Niners. We were like, wow. While the Eagles are trying to make postseason football, winning 6 games or so, and we thought, is that enough to win it? Is it possible that gets the job done? Are we really going to be that close with under 500 the way everyone was playing? I gotcha. So I get it. There's a few outliers. But in terms of building for generated success and sustained success, there's something to that. Addison also mentions last year's draft. Now, I hate to do this because I feel like every single year we kind of go back and look at some of the picks, and 2017 was a disaster. And, you kind of just go through draft by draft by draft and all that. But last year, you get Devontae Smith, you get Landon Dickerson. That's a big punch up top 1-2. That's great. First round pick, banging. Second round pick, banging. Landon Dickerson. I like Milton Williams. I think Milton Williams is going to be a player. See, I'm not afraid. I mentioned other fans don't want the Eagles to look out of Alabama and Georgia for some of their picks. I think you can find value anywhere around football. There's great talent everywhere. I'm not shying away from a specific organization or a specific program just because it's not an SEC school, because there's a lot of kids that get overlooked. There's a lot of guys that have that internal drive because they feel they should have been a 5-star recruit and they weren't, and they're a 4-star or a 3-star. They go to a different school and they got to battle. They got to earn their stripes. There's so many scenarios. So I'm not looking at a player just because of where they went to college, because there's so many players, there's so many programs, there's so much talent out there that would never shy me away. And Louisiana Tech, it's funny, I think I used Louisiana State as the example just a couple minutes ago. You got Louisiana Tech in there for Milton. I like Milton Williams in the 3rd round. I think this kid could play and be a nice piece. I like Jackson out of Coastal Carolina when that was picked in the 6th round. Look, once you get to that 4 and back territory, and even 3, really, you look at the numbers, the 1st round isn't even as much of a hit rate as you think it is, even though the Eagles have to do a better job at what they do. You'd be stunned when you see that. A lot of people miss in the 1st round more than you think. So you start getting the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a crapshoot at times, but I like Jackson with that pick late. Kenneth Gainwell in the 5th round, or is that in the round 5, round 6? How is this labeled? I think they just made a mistake. 150th overall. Yeah. So for Kenneth Gainwell, for Milton Williams, for Landon Dickerson, that's a damn good draft. That's a damn good draft this early. After one season, that is. Obviously, it takes a couple years, and then you kind of know from there. Where else are we? All right, let's go to the 2020 draft. Jalen Reagor, bad. Jalen Hurts, he might end up not being your quarterback. And if that's the case, if he ends up not being your quarterback after 2 seasons, you could say that was a flop. Davion Taylor, he's shown some things as of late. Does he have problems staying healthy? Obviously, there's situations where he looks overwhelmed, and we know about his college career and things of that nature on playing games and how many games he logs in and whatnot. But all around, third round pick, I don't know. Maybe he could be serviceable, but it's not anything that I'm overwhelmed with. Kayvon Wallace, Jack Driscoll, yes. Quez Watkins in the 6th, yes. So you end up with a 4 and a 6 that I could say yes about. And Jack Driscoll's no joke. He's legitimately damn good. But as a whole, I mean, you swing and a miss on Rager. If Jalen Hurts ends up not being your quarterback, it's a dud. If it ends up being your quarterback, then you get your quarterback in a draft. If you get your quarterback in a draft, you can miss on everything else and land your guy. Well, then that automatically makes it a success knowing the importance of the QB. Now, when I mean he's your guy, I don't mean he's a guy as like a stopgap for a couple years and he held you competitive. Actually your guy. Really your guy. That's a different circumstance than, you could hang with him for a little bit while tweaking other things. No, second round pick, blowing up the Carson Wentz drama. Even though I'm at the point now, which, with where Carson Wentz is at in his career, I uttered these words. There's no way in hell I could ever justify, even if Jalen Hurts becomes the next Tom Brady, I can never justify the way they spent all that money on Wentz. They drafted Jalen Hurts, but now that we're here, not that I'm telling you I understand the logic. I'm just saying there's probably something, the way that things went down with Frank Reich and Chris Ballard and the Colts. There's something with this Carson Wentz story that I don't think is public. There's things going on that the Eagles knew about that we didn't know about, that if we did know, it would make it justifiable on why they went down that path, and they did. There's a disconnect between Carson Wentz, the football player. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad person. We know he's a man of faith. And, when you're a man of faith, you tend to, you pray for others. You want the best for others. You're not like an evil human being that despises people. It's I think he's a good guy deep down. Does a lot for the community. Does a lot to help people out. But football terms, there's just a missing piece and a missing angle to the Carson Wentz story that maybe they knew something that we were just unaware of, and it seems like Howie Roseman getting what he got in return at this point is just ridiculously nuts. To 2019 we go. Andre Dillard, Miles Sanders, Jay Jaw, Sharif Miller, and Clayton Thorson. Throw that in the dumpster. That is probably one of the worst. And to be honest with you, I'm not trying to be a douchebag. I like Miles Sanders, but I do feel that we put him in a category that's a tick too high. And sometimes I have to catch myself from doing it. I'm excited for his skill set. I think that his inability to be a pass catcher, though, limits on what damage he could possibly do. He does have fumbling issues. The hammy's always kind of there, too, which is just the nature of the beast at the same time of what NFL football is all about. But I'm sorry. I do think that there's an angle here to Miles Sanders that I think we put him in a tier that he might be a little too high for where we place him. Am I spending big cash on Miles Sanders? The answer to me is so simple. No. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. What I'm doing at that point is we're moving forward. Let's go get a running back, which you can use his rookie deal and then maximize that money with the cap space. You can go out in other areas and improve and look elsewhere instead of Miles Sanders. That's just my thought on it, and I don't want to spend big cash on any running back. I don't care who it is. You look at the Zeke thing. Not that that would ever happen with the Miles Sanders, but you just don't emphasize that position by putting that much money. Zeke, Barkley, right? You look at all these players at the running back position. Christian McCaffrey. I get it. If you have Christian McCaffrey on your team and it's time to pay him, how can you justify saying, no, thank you, you're gone. Hey, Christian McCaffrey, I don't want you. Right? I mean, you'd be a fool to say that. At the same time, look what happens. Look what happens. So, the Miles Sanders thing, as we continue to push forward with Miles Sanders, is always going to kind of be in the back of my brain. Knowing Howie Roseman, though, I almost feel I know what he is going to do. And then the 2018 was that Dallas Goedert? 2018 this was a damn good draft. The 2018 draft was fucking amazing. Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox, Josh Sweat, Matt Pryor, and Jordan Mailata. I know Matt Pryor ended up being shipped out and you go to Indianapolis and all, but if you remember, there was a time where you plugged him on the right side of your line, and I think he even played that playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. So he plugged in their 6th-round draft pick. I'm not telling you he panned out to be anything magnificent by any means, but you look at that draft and you get 4 guys out of 5 selection. Jordan Mailata is going to be like a Hall of Fame left tackle. I mean, if he could stay upright and he could stay healthy, in the 7th round, you're going to find yourself with a Hall of Fame left tackle, possibly. That's how much of a lethal weapon this dude is. And yeah, you find that in the 7th. Josh Sweat, nice, solid player. Avonte Maddox, strong in the slot. You throw him on the outside and it can make you upset. You throw him on the outside and you're going to be bothered because he's too small. He'll get beat by big-time wide receivers. There'll be jump balls where he gets annihilated and boned, but that's not what he does best. You throw him in the slot, you have Darius Slay. You see what happens when there's some guys surrounding him in the cornerback department on the outside, and with some of this where Avonte Maddox could actually be a really solid slot corner for you. And Dallas Goedert. I mean, 18 was great, but we know 17 was a disaster. So you look at it. You really like your 2020 so far? Or 2021, I should say, in Smith, in Dickerson, in Milton Williams. It's like good draft, bad draft, good draft, bad draft. We gotta slice those bad drafts. Slice them big time. They gotta be gone. No more J.J. Arcega-Whitesides. I love the fact that J.J. Arcega-Whitesides blocking is getting noticed right now in the chat. J.Jaw's blocking. He actually does do it well, which is the comedy of it all. There's actually some legitimacy to that, which is crazy. And I remember, in a joking way, but not a joking way, because obviously you got to think of body structure and built and thickness and toughness. But is it ever possible J.J. Arcega-Whiteside turns into a blocking tight end out there? Because, you know, at that point, whenever J-Jaw is out there, he's not an option to catch the damn football. You know what his job is, right? Like, he stinks. He stinks. He stinks. But, yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, obviously that's just pain. Pain and suffering knowing that he is a joke. The moment I saw his mother on the sidelines with that umbrella, and even the moment he walked in, you know how they show the video of the NovaCare complex and guys walking out of their car and they're walking into the building for the first day and there's some cameras there and they're in their gear, they're decked out in some swag. You walk in with some legitimate swag, all right? Like the way that he's such a cornball and a loser walking into that building, you just knew this kid can't play. This kid's got no toughness to him. And well, that panned out the way that we thought. You know who does have a lot of swag, though? Malcolm Jenkins. And Malcolm Jenkins did announce his retirement from the NFL. What was that, last week or so? And, man, Malcolm Jenkins is just one of my all-time favorite Eagles. He really is. What a great free agency signing. Fantastic move. He was playing all over the place. Safety, linebacker. You could put this guy anywhere, in the box, in coverage. Now, he lost a step towards the end a little bit, but I'll tell you what, when you think of just defining what a player should be about on the field, off the field, fighting the fight off the field, being just a leader. I mean, we talk about leadership all the time. Then there's guys that are just at an unbelievable level that you can't even describe, and it doesn't even feel real, right? Like Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, these guys are dogs with leadership. But even Malcolm Jenkins, and I feel Kelsey is maybe on that level of a Malcolm Jenkins. That's no shot at Lane Johnson. I think Lane has a lot of voice and a ton of voice. But, man, Malcolm was just on a different tier, and I love him to death. I really do. I mean, I was so bummed when they moved on from him, knowing that it was probably necessary. You'd rather give up on someone a step early than a step too late, no doubt about it. But, damn, what he did for this city and the culture of Eagles football, he just fit everything. And when you see Malcolm Jenkins run out of the tunnel, if you look at all those videos of him running out of the tunnel and dancing in the locker room and all, just so many great memories of him being on the field. And he was just a perfect description of what we love out of our players. And I wish him the best for whatever's next for Malcolm Jenkins in his career, outside of football, that is. That is where I am at today with the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's funny because yesterday I wanted to record about the Phillies. And as soon as the Phillies game was over, I was like, let's do it. We're going to go live. We're going to have some fun. We're going to crush it. And before I knew it, Howie Roseman dropped the bombshell on me, which kind of Made me all clustered or flustered, and I didn't even know what to do. I don't know which word's right there. Is flustered? Clustered? Now, that custard ice cream? No, flustered's the word. Fluster's the word. Okay. With that, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had a lot of fun. Sixers tonight. Be there. Sixers Pacers. Regular season's winding down. Indeed it is. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time.